wear your hat, the way you sip your tea, the memory of all that. Oh no, they can't take that away from me.
Well, good morning to you all. I'm looking out my window here in rural Ireland, and I'm looking at my Irish flag being battered by the elements that have come down on us the last couple of days. But I'm also very grateful for having dodged my coffin again this week. It's your old coffin dodger back here again. Hope you're all well. It is count a day in all the constituencies for the general election. And do you remember the last podcast, or maybe it was the podcast before that, I was speaking about, well, I spoke in both, I think, about numbers. But in particular, I spoke about a number 322, which Fritz Springmeier, he's a YouTuber, and he interprets a lot of what the messages that the Eli tried to get out to us. And this 322, anyway, has something to do with skull and bones. So I couldn't believe my eyes last night when I checked in how the exit polls were doing or what they were saying. And the first thing I saw was Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil and Sinn Féin all on the 22%. Now there was something after the comma as well, but it was 3 22s. 22, 22, 22, staring right out at me. So, of course, the first thing I asked myself was, what is this telling me? And it told me, and it confirmed something that I had been thinking and many others had also been thinking for years now, and especially in the weeks leading up to this sham election, that all the parties are cut from the same cloth. Basically, they all have the same masters, they all have the same agenda, they all collude with each other behind the scenes. It also told me, of course, that people have little to no imagination, that they are satisfied to be ripped off, that they are happy with open borders, that they are happy with the abortion agenda being as it is, that they're happy to have 12,000 children sacrificed in the first year since the laws were enacted, that they are happy with having 2 jobs, 3 jobs, to keep their little home going, to keep their little car going, and to keep themselves going from month to month. That they have curled up into a little ball and let themselves be pushed along by the same parties, the same policies, increasingly worse policies, increasingly more restrictive policies. As long as it doesn't concern them, just keep their mouths shut and try and keep everybody else's mouth shut as well. That's what it told me. It also told me that propaganda media is successful in their efforts to dumb the people down, to propagandize. Government, of course, is in collusion with the mouthpiece RTE, and so we are the people of Ireland who sit in front of the telly every evening after they come home exhausted from their day's toil, are brainwashed so much that they go out and vote the very same again as they did last time, as they did the time before. Maybe a little change here and there, but it's all about the nice fella down the road, and he did this for me and he did that for me and he spoke to me, he said hello to me, clapped me on the shoulder down at the pub, so we're going to have to vote for him. There is no informed voting anymore. It's all about impact, it's all about charisma, it's all about how much you can fool somebody with the same old story again and again. And yet the quality of life is is deteriorating. The quality of life has deteriorated so much for so many people that they're now living on the streets. But oh yes, we don't mind. We'll go back and vote the same again. Really, really disappointing. Really disappointing to see now in the last hour or so. I've seen that people are tallying so well. The health minister, who has ruined the health system here in Ireland, he's doing quite well actually, and goodness knows who else. I just don't want to listen to it anymore. I don't want to hear it anymore, and to be quite honest, I don't even want to be involved anymore. But I'm saying that in a fit of helplessness, really, but it's not in my nature really to stand back and watch people drowning. The storm that's raging out there right now in gusts, really, it's not raging the whole time, but it's coming in gusts, and it has just destroyed my lovely magpie nest that is in the tree right in front of my window where I do my podcasts and where I sit and do my correspondence, where my computer is. And that magpie nest they've been working on it for the past couple of weeks, the magpies, and bring in their little sticks and they help each other. One of them brings the sticks and the other one does the building, and maybe vice versa as well, because I can't identify which is which. But the storm has taken that nest down now, and they're going to have to start all over again. So really I can be learning from this storm as well. Why weren't we actually warned? Why didn't we get an orange warning or a yellow warning about the upcoming elections? That would be really good, wouldn't it? Get a colour warning for if you vote for these, that will happen, and so on and so forth. But when you're looking at the magpie's nest, I'm just thinking of what I just mentioned. So many people have lost their homes through electing wrong parties, wrong people in government, people who don't give a rat's tail about your housing or anything else. Oh, look, I see the magpie up there now, and he's mourning his little house, or hers, exactly on the spot. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. But, yeah, there should be these kind of warnings as well coming up to elections. But we have been trying to warn. We, on the far right, have been warning as best we could not to be voting for these people. But indeed, I have talked to people. They said they were going to vote Labour. Labour, as if Labour could do something about the state of the nation now at this stage. But okay, so I decided then to pursue a little bit more my numbers, educate myself and get my thoughts onto different things. So I thought, well, where am I going to start? So I just threw it in there to the search machine, and I came up for an accurate understanding of 322. We need merely open the very first book of the Bible, Genesis chapter 3, verse 22. That chapter, Genesis 3, is all about the creation of human beings, of man and woman, and how they performed after they were left alone, and how easy it was to tempt them to disobey God's very, very generous offer to them to be cared for in a place where everything was provided for. But after a while, they fell victim to the temptations of the serpent. And whoever the serpent is in your life or in my life, in the political life, it definitely is the parties up there promising you one thing or another, that you will be free from worry if you vote them in. That's basically what chapter 3:22 is about in relation to the present situation of elections in Ireland. There are always new situations which you can refer back to this particular reading from Genesis in the Bible, and even the fact that there were 3 22s to be seen there last night. It so reminded me of this situation, or that something was going on. I just went a little bit deeper into it as to what is going on. And then I thought I would look in another place that is very important to check out your facts and your decisions. If you're thinking of making a decision and you're wondering, can I go along with that decision? Is that ethical? Is that Christian? The first place a Catholic will go to is to the Catechism of the Catholic Church. I went then to 322, Article 322, and it said to me, Christ invites us to filial trust in the providence of our Heavenly Father. So that was a very nice thing to hear, that behind all this evil doing and this wickedness that we are exposed to through our governments and through their servants, we hear something very encouraging, that Christ invites us to filial trust. And to help us understand a little bit more, there are a few readings quoted, and one of them is Matthew 6:26-34. It says, "Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? Can any of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life?" And it goes on then to talk about the worry about clothes, about the flowers in the fields. "Yet I tell you that not even Solomon in all his splendour was dressed like one of these. If this is how God clothes the grass of the field, which is here today and tomorrow is thrown into the fire, will he not much more clothe you?" Whereby here now, when we hear about clothing in the Bible, it's not about the latest fashion or H&M or pennies. It's about being taken care of, being enveloped in the love that God has for us. And it goes on to say, "For the pagans run after all these things, and your heavenly Father knows that you need them. But seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble to its own." That's one of the encouraging readings in Article 322 of the Catholic Catechism. And then it also quotes Peter, 1 Peter 5 verse 7, "Casting all your care upon him, for he cares for you. Give all your worries and cares to God, because he cares about you." And last but not least, a psalm is quoted, and it is Psalm 55:23, where it says, "But you, God, will bring down the wicked into the pit of decay. The bloodthirsty and deceitful will not live out half their days. But as for me, I trust in you." And funnily enough, there are some people saying that this government won't last, that there may be a new election called. Because if the three are on the same percentage, that means that they're either having to go to pull together and do their duty to the people who voted them in by coalescing with each other, or they're going to have to call a new election. So it will be interesting to see what happens in the days and weeks to come, because all we have to do is wait for God to bring down the wicked into the pit of decay. That's very promising.
The way you haunt my dreams, I know they can't take that away from me.
If only some of those power-driven people who will be rubbing their hands and clapping shoulders and making phone calls with their puppet masters tonight, if only they knew what responses, what reactions they trigger throughout the country. I can imagine people having looked at the results and the potential results. They're not all finalised yet, but I can imagine people just despairing and going down to the pub and drinking themselves unconscious. So this was just one method of coping with my own frustration, and I recommend it to anybody, really. When you have a problem, when you have an issue that you're, that is causing you sleepless nights and worrisome days, go to your Bible, go to your catechism. They're the two books that should be in every home. And just go to them, start off somewhere with a key word or a key sentence, and just you can put it in your computer as well, because that helps to generate related material. But you can also go to your paper version of your book and of your catechism, and you will be led through the readings. You will be led to an answer that is satisfactory to you at the time and on that particular day, because really we Christians, we live from one day to the next. We don't really plan too much ahead. We know that God is the great planner. I'm not going to call him the great architect, because that would be a mistake, because that's what the Freemasons call their God. When they refer to God, they refer to this great architect. No, I'm referring to the personal God of your life and my life, and that it's all in the palm of his hand. We are written in the palm of his hand, so you will always find an answer. And when he talked about a filial relationship, that means we are his children and we can go to him and nag him for answers. So anyway, I'll move on now to the next topic.
The way you hold your knife, the way we dance till 3, the way you changed my life. Oh no, they can't take that away from me.
And indeed, it's not all that totally unrelated. It's definitely related to things I was speaking about in the last podcast and the podcast before that. And it has to do with the virus, that awful virus that is going around. It's called the coronavirus. You might remember how I quoted Prince Philip of England, Philip Battenberg, Philip Mountbatten, the Queen Elizabeth's husband. I quoted him as having said that if there were such thing as reincarnation, that he would like to be reincarnated as a deadly virus. And that was in relation to his theories that the planet was overpopulated and that we need to depopulate. So that was his way of saying he wants to be a deadly virus and he wants to take away as many people as possible in the process of being a reincarnated virus. So for that reason, I associated the coronavirus with the crown. And I said it more in jest than anything else. But since then, I have come across a very interesting blog or website from which I'm going to quote now in a second. It says here, the coronavirus has been traced to the British Crown. Now, these are people who spend a lot more time researching than I do. I just go kind of gut feeling and instinctive and intuitively. I look at words a lot and then I ponder upon them and hit upon things that other people have seemingly gone a lot deeper into, and they have actually associated the coronavirus with the crown. They go on to say here, the Pirbright Institute, that's a UK institute, has been awarded 11 US patents, including coronavirus US patent number 10130,701. Pirbright Institute is controlled by the Queen's Golden Share, and Pirbright controllers track back to British Serco and Sir Geoffrey E. Patty, Chairman Marconi, and the British Intellectual Property Institute. And Serco, S-E-R-C-O, used its control of the US Patent Office to issue its British bio company a patent on the coronavirus in record time. And they say here that that's pure fraud. So the Queen's company, the Pirbright Institute, holds US patent number, that's the one I'm just after reading out, 101300701 on coronavirus. Pirbright tracks back to Serco, which has the contract with the US Patent Office to award its own patent application. Queen Elizabeth II is the longtime patron of the British American Pilgrims Society, which was founded in 1902 and is still in existence. Sir Henry Solomon Welcome, farmer propagandist, spy, was a Pilgrim's secret founding member, along with Winston Churchill, propagandist John Buchan, and the Daily Telegraph and Daily Mail's Lords Burnham and Northcliffe. And to find out more then, you have to see the Pilgrim Society of Great Britain, United States profile book. I have to look into that now because I'm not going to go into too much detail here. So, the coronavirus outbreak was just declared a health emergency by the World Health Organization. Tellingly, WHO is one of the coronavirus creators, as we will show below. The coronavirus was invented by the Pirbright Institute at posh, well-appointed laboratories located in Woking, Surrey, England, just outside London's M25 outer belt. So, and it goes into detail here about who did what. And the researchers here of this website has tracked the Burroughs Wellcome and Company involvement with bogus vaccines back to their experiments on 60,000 whites and black in British concentration camps during the Second Boer War that was promoted by the disciples of Cecil Rhodes, like Viscount Alfred Milner, Winston Churchill, and John Buchan, among others, all founders of the Pilgrims Society in London, 1902, then in New York, 1903. The UK-US Pilgrim Society controls the press that directs intelligence to bend words and culture to atheistic social fascism. Says here. That's not my invention. Interestingly, on May the 17th, 2006, the George W. Bush Pilgrim Society member, US Patent Office awarded the processing of all patents to Serco, a company controlled by the British Crown. These contracts have been renewed and are presently in operation. And you can go to another link to find more information on that. I shall attach this website in the information box beneath this podcast. As of May the 4th, 2018, Serco had received $5.52 billion in 15,699 US government contracts. 5,000 of those contracts were prime contracts. This does not include contracts with various US states like New York and Virginia, and there's more background information there too. Tellingly, Serco Incorporated did not incorporate in the US until December the 29th, 2008, during President-elect Barack Obama's transition, just after Pilgrim Society member Larry Summers took charge of the National Economic Council during the 2008 banking crisis. Clearly, Serco has had no corporate standing to start managing the US Patent Office in 2006, hence the records have been obscured, no doubt using some national security BS excuse. Then it says here, on the British side, everything about this coronavirus tracks back to the Crown. The eugenics-loving Pilgrim Society, Crown agents, and her corrupt Privy Council courtiers, British Pilgrim Society suck-ups. On the American side, it illustrates the seditious nature of activity at the US Patent Office, the senior executive services, Crown agents, opaque USAID, a corrupt DOJ, Chief Justice John Roberts, FBI, CIA and NSA, all connected. The coronavirus is not Chinese in origin. It is a man-made British-US Pilgrims Society bioweapon invented by Wellcome Fund, Wellcome Trust, Bill Gates, DARPA, UN, WHO and EU, among others. In Purebride, Woking, Surrey, UK, by the Purebride Institute, holds US patent number 10130,701. This proof comes from their own hand. So that is really, really interesting. No wonder it's called the coronavirus, and it is associated with the Crown. Okay, so on this website there is also a picture of Jeffrey Epstein, Pilgrims Society blackmailer for MI6, CIA and Mossad, human trafficking procurer for the Pilgrims Society. How interesting is that? I have to read more of that. I think you can click on it as well. But meanwhile, you can be looking at it. Maybe you can give me some feedback on it. But you can see why Mr. Battenberg made that statement. Very obvious now, isn't it? When you look at the monstrosities, the evil plans that are more or less in place and are being discussed on a regular basis by the elite at their different meetings, at their swapping of CEOs, of chair people sitting in different companies. The whole Cavan Monaghan election dwindles to insignificance. It's like they present us with a little show every now and then to keep us occupied, to keep us distracted. The outcome is predetermined. Everybody is saying that. And I'm sure when you look at these things that are going on and these connections between the elites, between the rich and powerful, the bankers, the politicians, certainly we have no say in anything. It's just a pretend thing. You can be certain that our Irish government in some way or another is involved with these goings on. We looked into Simon Harris and his involvement with foreign companies, his involvement with the HSE, the head of the HSE that had to go, and he went off over to America, and they were associated with companies who were producing abortion instruments to, of course, import or to export here to Ireland. Then we have the pharmaceutical companies manufacturing these abortion pills. They are all connected, and you can see who goes to Bilderberg meetings. By that you can tell who is involved in these things. Also, we know that the pharmaceutical company that develops and produces the HIV vaccine has expanded their operations to Ireland. I mean, how dumb do they think we are? The trouble is that while we are talking about sovereignty and taking Ireland back and exiting the European Union, they have long progressed way beyond that. We are at a stage now where there is no turning back as far as I'm concerned and as far as I can judge. There is no turning back. We have the New World Order is just around the corner. And I've discovered another website here, and it goes back a couple of years. There are 3 entities on this globe which regulate and control everybody on the planet. And it comes under the heading Empire of the City, analogous to the Roman Empire. This one is called Empire of the City, the unholy trinity that rules the world. And these 3 entities, these 3 places, they are physical places. They are the Vatican, the Corporation of London, London City, and the District of Columbia, which is Washington. So these 3 entities, they are what rule us. The Vatican is the spiritual side. The City of London is the financial side, and Washington, D.C. is the military side. So these 3 are in cahoots with one another, and they rule the planet. And there's a lot of information on this website, too much to read out. But there was one interesting item, is that the flag of the District of Columbia has 3 red stars on it, one for each city-state in the 3-city empire. And what I found interesting as well in the description about the City of London, it became a sovereign state in 1694 when King William III of Orange privatised and turned the Bank of England over to the bankers. Imagine, did you know that the City of London is a separate state of its own? It has its own police force. It's not part of Greater London, England, or the British Commonwealth, and it pays no taxes. And the city-state of London houses Fleet Street's newspaper and publishing monopolies. It is also the headquarters for worldwide English Freemasonry and headquarters to the worldwide money cartel known as the Crown. Here we go again with more Crown. The Crown is not the royal family or the British monarch. It has a council of 12 members who rule the corporation under a mayor called the Lord Mayor. So you got 12 members. We have 12 stars on the European Union flag. There are 12 tablets of Roman law. And again, the Lord Mayor and his 12-member council serve as proxies who sit in for 13 of the world's wealthiest, most powerful banking families. This ring of 13 ruling families includes the Rothschild family, the Warburg family, the Oppenheimer family, and the Schiff family. These families and their descendants run the Crown Corporation of London, and there's a lot more there as well. I must just look into this Schiff family. I think they are connected with the Bushes. Hang on a second. See, that's what I keep saying. This connectedness, all connected with each other. No, I've just checked. It wasn't the Schiff family, it was the Cerf family, a German connection to the Bushes. But while I was doing that quick research, I went to another search engine because access was denied to me in 1 or 2 sites that I went to. So I went to another search engine called Quant, and it's QWANT. And if you go to that search engine, you will find a lot more information on the things that you are looking for. And the first thing that popped into my face was the Bush-Hitler family values, eugenics of Prescott Bush and George Herbert Walker, all connected with each other. that lying criminals and murderers were connected together as organised crime, and that they took control of government to hide their criminal history and to keep on doing more. The most recent 4 generations of Bush family members have publicly advocated for mass murder, forced sterilizations, elimination of the weak members of the human race. 3 of the last 4 generations also masturbated in the nude in a coffin surrounded by a large group of men in the dark cult using a pirate flag insignia called Skull and Bones. There are no Christians in the Bush family, and there's loads and loads and loads of information on this website. Even Margaret Sanger's name is coming up here. Oh, population control, eugenics, International Federation of Eugenics. In 1932, a year before Hitler and Roosevelt came to power, the Harrimans helped to organise the 3rd International Congress of Eugenics at the American Museum of Natural History in New York. These wealthy American families, like their counterparts in Britain, feel themselves to be racially superior, and they wish to protect their racial purity. This, along with the pursuit of power, wealth and influence, is the reason why so many intermarriages take place within these families. I will let you read that for yourselves. This is just too much. Mind boggles. Anyway, I think that's about enough information for today. It was enough for me as well, because I have been discovering this as I went along today. I didn't start out wanting to find out that the Bushes were involved with eugenics and deeply connected with the Crown, with Queen Elizabeth's organisation called Pilgrim Society, and that they were all interconnected and they're all out to get us, and that the coronavirus is nothing other than a genetically modified organism to be unleashed on society at some stage. It might be a test run that they're doing now, but it might also be the real thing of the test runs. We don't know. Have they completed their own plans to keep themselves safe until the worst is over and we're all lying there or running around as zombies? I don't know. But anyway, thanks for listening in. Come back some other time. And in the meantime, look after yourselves and look out for one another.
No, they can't take that away. They can't take that away. They can't take that